Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope you are super well on this actually pretty depressing summer afternoon. Have to say, I don't think I've had a birthday. It was my birthday yesterday, FYI. I don't think I've had a birthday this miserable, thinking it's February for probably 36 years now. So yeah, hope you are all doing well. I'm just going to try and connect this thing to I'm having a play, sorry, with tech. You can be my guinea pig. And I'm trying it on Instagram as well, because, more tech, more reach. But I'll stop rambling. It's my secret superpower. And I'll give you an intro on why I'm talking to you this afternoon. So, who am I? I'm Lottie. I'm founder of the Jura Society, platform and private client consultancy focusing on women, wealth, and well-being. We work with leaders in the private client world and the wellness industries to share their knowledge and provide access to their services when they're needed. You may not know, but I also run the Divorce Concierge, where I specialise in helping women navigate financial transitions alongside their advisors and their family by providing impartial guidance and support to them. So what am I going to do today to talk to you? Well, you may or may not know that I did have a background in wealth management. So I learned a lot of what the tools were to actually manage your finances from that technical point of view. But there was so much missing from the emotional side, the practical side. It's very easy to send a document to a client and expect them to not have some emotional reaction to receiving it, especially when it comes to divorce or bereavement. There are many triggers when it comes to dealing with your finances. And I'm going to run through a few things. I'm going to give you an overview of what the world of wealth looks like for women today and give you some tips and tricks. I'm not going to talk for too long, which is rare, because I know if I give myself the opportunity, I won't stop. I'll give you about 10 minutes or so. I'll open up to Q&A and we'll go from there. So, what does the current financial landscape look like for women? Well, previous research from the World Economic Forum has suggested that based on current trends, it will take many decades to close the gender pay gap. Okay, we know this stat. What does this mean? Well, there are actually different types of penalties that adversely affect women's financial well-being through our lives too. Hurrah! So, number one, we've got the motherhood penalty. So many women take time out from their careers to have children. Okay, that's a no-brainer. But what is that going to do to impact themselves financially later on in life? We'll come back to that. Second, the childcare penalty. With British childcare costs among the highest in the world, many mothers opt to stay at home to care for their children. So once they're actually having children, they're having their maternity leave, they're coming back, they're realizing actually it's more sense to them to become what is known now as a trad wife, staying at home, playing those stereotypical gender roles. Again, something in society we need to look at a little bit more deeper if we want to encourage more equality throughout the world. Third is the good daughter penalty. In 2017, the Department for Work and Pensions estimated that 8%, not sure if that's quite right, of the private household population acted as an informal carer for someone. Almost 3 in 5 of these carers were female. And I know that from personal experience as well. Actually, the difficulties that can come, from finding carers who are trustworthy, who you could actually leave with your loved ones is one angle, and the other is the financial, and there's a lot of very expensive options out there, and are they necessarily the best thing? Who knows? But that is something that we're looking at in cash flow planning for clients. It's actually taking into account what is going to happen in that family tree as well. Who are they looking after ahead of them? Not necessarily the next generation, but the previous generation. And the fourth one is the pension gap. So according to Now Pensions, women retire with an average pension saving of £69,000 compared to £205,000 for men. It's quite a difference. So what does this mean? We know the statistics, the trends, the challenges faced by women, but what can we do to enhance financial well-being? So let's look at defining wealth. What is wealth? Okay, there's many different avenues and different different ways that you can actually define wealth for yourself. But I think if we go from a traditional point of view, we're looking at financial assets, we're looking at income, we're looking at investments, and we're looking at savings. And all of these, in order to actually manage them effectively, boil down to having one important thing: financial literacy. With 39% of adults not feeling confident in managing their money, over 11 million having less than £100 in savings, and nearly 9 million in serious debt, and only a third receiving help, it seems that there is a huge gap in the market, not necessarily just for the literacy, but actually taking action as well. And despite many women controlling their family's day-to-day finances, many are reluctant to seek financial advice themselves. Yet, 60% of the UK's wealth is expected to be in the hands of women. Now, that's only 6 months away. I'm not sure what the current statistics are looking like, but I think that's enough to give us a real good motivation to get things going in the right direction. So what do you do personally? You person in the mirror, I can't see anybody here, so I'm talking at you. But I think it's really important to reflect how you currently manage or organize your household finances. According to UBS, more than half of women globally defer to their spouses to manage critical long-term decisions. And I mean, this is perfectly adequate during a healthy relationship, but it can be detrimental should things turn sour. And this is what I see with clients of mine when they're coming to me. Maybe they're thinking about separating, maybe they're going through the divorce, and they have actually abdicated all agency over their finances, and they're really having to learn right from the start while they're going through the eye of the storm. So it's really, I would say, critical to using the analogy of emergency exits on an aeroplane, right? You get on the plane and they go, fasten your seatbelts, emergency exits here, 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 find the one nearest to you. This is where knowledge is power. So it's important to know how to leave a relationship or situation safely. And this almost always has a financial tie to it. So whether you need, financial assistance, legal help, or the emotional support as well, it's knowing where to go, who to go, and what questions you need to be asking, which is really important. So I'm not going to tailor this to, separation or divorce per se, but I think in any relationship or situation, it is really important to know how to leave safely, effectively, with your integrity intact, and be aware of your own financial situation subject to your family, relationships, or work as well, because again, we are not islands. We are all interconnected with each other. There are many different instances where family disentanglement might occur, whether it is through your parents, your grandparents, your cousins, someone like that, that will actually possibly affect either inheritances or payments, or I think it's really important you go through and have a look at that from yourself from a personal point of view. And actually, I recommend doing a wealth and wellness SWOT analysis with all of my clients so we can establish a route to navigate any risks or opportunities, both now and in the future. What might that look like? So SWOT analysis, get on Google, they'll show you a lovely little box. I didn't bother doing slides because I thought that would be even more distracting than me just gesticulating at you. But SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Take that from both your wealth perspective. So what are some of your strengths? Maybe you've got a really great cash buffer. Maybe you're fantastic at investing. Maybe you're really, you've got some rental properties, or you've got an art collection, and that's fantastic. Okay, what are the weaknesses there? Okay, so maybe you've got everything in cash. Maybe the impact on inflation is not going to be so good for that. Maybe you've got a huge CGT liability that will come in a few years' time. What are some of these things you just need to be aware of? You don't necessarily need to take action there, but to be aware of. What are some of the opportunities? Okay, so you might be expecting a windfall. You might be expecting, a business sale, anything like that. Put that in the opportunities box. What are some of the threats? Right, your stepmother might be, hankering into your inheritance, let's say, or you might have a business fallout with your business partner, something like that, where later down the line that might impact your wealth, or your finances at least. And then I would do the same with your wellness as well. So whether you are looking at, sorry, there's a question that popped up. Sorry, I get totally distracted. Wellness. What are some of your strengths? Are you one of those keen beans who can get up at 5 a.m. and go for a run or go to the gym? Not me whatsoever. But, are you really good at looking after your nutrients? Are you really good at, doing all the things that we should be doing, but don't necessarily do. All of those things. Again, it's about awareness. I think awareness followed by action equals success. So one question. Okay, I'll come back to this question at the end that you've just asked me, because otherwise I will lose my flow. Sorry. One question I also ask everybody is, what do you think is holding you back from where you want to be financially? Sometimes this can be, it's not as easy as, because it is never as easy, but it can be your mental blockages that are preventing you from taking risks. We know the risk reward returns. And sometimes it can be as much as you not putting yourself out there, taking that first leap. Being afraid of taking risks is totally natural, and that is not just something that women are told they are risk averse or anything like that. It is being sensible and it is being risk aware, but it also doesn't mean that you shouldn't take those risks. Now, it just depends on what those liabilities are and what the outcomes might be. So for instance, for women, because we have got these carer obligations, we have children, we have got, menopause, we have got all of these other things that are really stacked against us that mean that we are probably, for that reason, unable to take greater risks with our finances, because we have got our sensible hats on and we think, actually, no, in the long term, the opportunity cost of this might not be in my favor, and it is not worth the risk of taking that opportunity because of the outcomes, which I think is totally, totally sensible. However, how do you want to live your life? Some people are like all gung-ho, feast famine. I love this, let's just keep going. I'm going to make loads of money. I'm going to spend loads of money. Keep going with it. It's what suits your personal ability to handle risk, I think, as well. For instance, 2/3 of women say they understand that having investments would improve their financial power. Great, but men are twice as likely as women to invest in a stocks and shares ISA. Why so? 4 in 5 women say they lack the trust of the investment providers, and that's what stops them from investing. So that's interesting. We're talking about trust then. Again, that is an emotional reaction to something that we should be doing. Okay. And that shows that the lack of trust in providers and the way that investment products are talked about, combined with greater transparency concerning those risks, are issues that investment industry really need to focus on. And that is one of my missions here with Jura, is to actually provide access, education, and tools to encourage women to not just invest financially, but invest in themselves emotionally, building their networks, building their knowledge, and actually take those risks that they might be unable to do so without, because I think if you're also seeing what other people are doing, it's going to encourage you to do it as well. I can't remember, there will be some phrase for what that's called. But what are some of the basic frameworks then that are useful for strategy for financial well-being? Number 1, budgeting and expense tracking. One of those fun things that nobody wants to do, but it's actually a spoonful of sugar. It will make you feel so good afterwards. Review this every so often if you can. What are some of the easy ways of doing? Sorry, my hair, I just hate it. So if you use something like Monzo, for instance, for your day-to-day spending, they do a thing where you can download it and you can review it. I do this. You can always tell the nature of a person by looking through what they spend their money on. It's a fantastic record history diary of what you've done over the past month or so, and all of your little secrets will be in there, and all of your bad habits also show up in there as well. So I always get my clients to go through that. It can be really eye-opening, it can be really daunting, but it is really helpful as well, because it's better the devil you know, and then you can address it. Then you can think, gosh, I did not realize that I was spending X amount every month on this, and actually I don't use it, or I don't actually get that much pleasure from doing this. So I recommend that. Get it out, pen and paper, highlighters, do it manually. You don't need to be a whiz kid on Excel to do budgeting. It's literally, what are you spending all your money on? Do you need to be spending your money on it? What adjustments could you make? Then looking at saving and investing for the long-term goals. Okay, figuring out what your goals are. That can be a minefield in its own right. What's going to happen tomorrow? Are we going into war? All of these things that will actually kind of make us want to retract and hide and bury our heads in the sand. Trying to again, think long-term, think optimistically. Yes, always be an optimist. Looking at ways to actually better your future self as well. It's like putting a glass of water out by the side of your bed after you come home, after you've had a few drinks. You'll love it. And it's a really simple trick that you can do, just saving money, putting it aside for when you need it. Again, building an emergency fund. Again, that sounds scary, doesn't it? Emergency fund, this is for an emergency. But actually, I like to call it an opportunity fund as well. Okay, it's an opportunity for you to look after yourself later down the line. They say 6 to 12 months of your overheads, so what's going out. But again, it's whatever you're feeling comfortable with. Sometimes, it can be up to 12 months in cash, readily available, should you need it for an emergency or opportunity. And don't forget to enjoy life as well. You need to enjoy life. There is no point in squirreling money away. I know there's a lot of talk about the fire, whatever they call it. Fire, I don't know, you burn yourself. You burn out and then you retire and you get sick. That's my interpretation of fire. Anyway, so but thinking about planning for retirement as well. How does that look? You don't necessarily have to use a pension, FYI, but if they do have tax incentives for them, it's just depending where you're going to be. If you're going to be in the UK with UK, maybe that's going to be the best thing for you. If you are quite a global person, you're going to think of different strategies as well. And we're going to be educating you with Jura on what these strategies might look like too. I've touched on physical wellness. We do actually have a preventative healthcare medical event coming up next week. So if anyone is interested in joining us for that, just ping me a note and I will share all the info on that. I think looking at mental and emotional wellness as well is super important. We've covered some of the financial bits, but actually learning stress management techniques. So meditation, mindfulness, some of these things that can seem quite alien, especially when you're working in a very corporate environment, finding time to actually retain your humanity can feel very difficult to do. So I don't have any tips for that, but there are lots of people out there who are specialists in navigating corporate wellness, the oxymoron that is. Looking at work-life balance strategies, making things work for you. Sometimes it's just, you have to really adapt and change. But building support networks, I think, is also invaluable. And that's exactly why I created the society, to help women to build their wealth and wellness support networks around them, to learn, to share, to grow together. Because, it's always so reassuring to just have that phone a friend on hand and just think, gosh, who do I need to call? Who do I need to speak to? Where do I go? That isn't always just a friend, because friends, although they have the best interests at heart, have got undercover biases as well. So it's always important to speak to an expert. And I'm very happy to signpost anybody who needs some expert level, assistance. Right, conscious of time, and I've got a couple of questions who've popped up here. So what can you do today? So today, I would recommend that you know your numbers. What does that mean? What's coming in? So after you've done your sexy little, budgeting, get your highlighter out, what you're spending your money on, what are your overheads, oh dear, oh, whoopsie. Know your numbers, what's coming in, what's going out, right? Cash flow. Then balance sheet, what's your assets, what's your liabilities? Be really honest with yourself, and then calculate what your net worth is. So assets less liabilities equals net worth. There's going to be some other, complicated bits on there, but this is really the basics. Once you know that figure, you could figure your goals around it. If you are monetarily motivated in that sense, if you're like, I want to have X amount by the age of, that's a great way for you to then start plotting your goals. If you are more sort of in the opposite way around, it's I want to have a lifestyle which affords me blah, 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 then you would just do it sort of back discounted cash flow style. How much are you going to need to get that? Sorry, rambling. Anyway, manage your cash flow. That's the second point. Mindful spending aligned with your personal values. So important. We can so easily spend money now. It's amazing. it's conscious consumption in its truest form. You're being sold to at every opportunity now. It's really about retaining and regaining your independence and your agency over the spending decisions that you make, which will set you on a good track. And it's hard. Keeping up with friends, family, loved ones, peers is what the whole of the capitalist system is built on. But actually, if you can center yourself and just recap on what you're spending on, you might feel a little bit better about it. Number 3, preparing for emergencies and opportunities. So whether that is using an emergency fund, whether it is making sure you have insurance that covers you, maybe it is, reducing your overheads. It's just really actually tailoring it to what you feel comfortable with. Number 4, investing in health and wellness. Priority. What is the point in having wealth if you cannot enjoy it? As somebody who is constantly ill, thank you, immune system, with chronic illness, I know just how important it is to actually be well and the luxury that health provides you. Being sick sucks, whether that is chronic illness or, just little whatever, or more severe, making sure that you have got protection in any sense, whether that is network insurance, cash, something that you can use later on in life to look after yourself. And again, finding experts who will look after you, who will listen to you, who you engage with, and who listen. That's the most important, whether they are a financial or wellness professional. Listening, understanding, and accepting what you are wanting to get out of it is so important and sometimes impossible. And again, number 5, regular reviews. So another thing I recommend all of my clients is have a quarterly review. Imagine you are running your own business. You get that cash flow coming in, going out, assets, liabilities, look at your SWOT analysis, review them on a quarterly basis. You go, what have I done well? What have I messed up on? And let's review it. Who do I need to speak to? What can I do? So, conscious of time, told you I'd ramble a bit. I hope that was useful. I'm just going to answer a couple of these questions. So it's very different when I'm myself. I haven't got somebody jumping in, but LinkedIn user doesn't tell me your name, so sorry. It's also something we need to start teaching our daughters, making money less taboo and building confidence from a younger age, teaching them to invest now, their future self, act of self-love. Yes, I love that. Looking after your future self, so important, and finance is actually one of the best ways of doing it. What I love to think, christening gifts, right? Set up an ISA, something like that. Put a pension together for a christening gift. Can you imagine how, if you crowdfunded a pension contribution for all of your friends for their child, for their christening or whatever religious, different, you know what I mean? Something like that. Really fun gift for when they're 18 and they can hopefully not spunk it all when they go to uni. Number 2, yeah, just a lovely comment there. So important, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual wellness. Well, thank you all so much. If any of you have got any questions, I know it might have been a little bit disjointed, but that's how it goes. If you've got any questions or you'd like to learn more or you'd like to get involved with the society, do let us know. And I hope you have a super, super afternoon. And thank you so much, everyone. See you later.